Welcome back, NBC6, your election headquarters. And this morning we are talking with Senator Kennedy. We've got a lot to talk about this morning. First of all, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Laura.
So, economic development, obviously a priority on pretty much everyone's agenda this year. But in Washington, you guys are really focusing on something with tax cuts. Tell us about that.
I've got three things on my mind when I get back to Washington: jobs, economic growth, and more take-home pay. And the only way to get this economy moving again and do those three things is to do tax reform. We're going to cut taxes. I hope we have it done by November. We're going to make it retroactive to the first of the year. We're going to boost the national economy from 1.6 GDP growth to what it ought to be, 3%. We've done all we can do on the monetary side. It's time to fix this on the fiscal side.
And, part of these things that are affected home, I know recently you had Secretary Ben Carson was down in Baton Rouge with you, touring a lot of the areas that were hard hit by those recent floods from 2016. What came of that visit, and how do you, feel moving forward with the recovery process? Well,
Dr. Carson is Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The money that we're receiving, $1.7 billion, comes through him. The money I'm talking about, of course, is to help us recover from March of last year in North Louisiana and August of last year in South Louisiana, the flooding. The good news is that Congress has appropriated $1.7 billion to help us. Not enough, but I'll try to get more. The bad news is that the state has done a lousy job of getting that money to the people. We've had that money since September of last year, almost a year ago, and I think they've distributed a grand total of $20 million, and the state needs to do a better job, because I can't go back and get more from my colleagues. When I ask them for more money, they say, well, have you spent what we gave you? And I have to tell them no, and they say, well, when you spend it, come back for more.
And that's the next step in the process, is
spending
the money.
The state needs to get its act together. I mean, I don't mean to be ugly, but they need to get their act together in Baton Rouge and get this money to the people. They've all got themselves paid and the consultants paid. They need to get our people some relief.
And something else, you were in Fort Polk.
Yeah, it was great.
Seeing some troops off to overseas and to deployment. And, the president just made some remarks about Afghanistan and what our plan is moving forward with that. What can you say on that? What can you comment?
I think the president's plan for Afghanistan is correct. It's a limited engagement. My guess is we'll send anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 troops. The goal is to go in, train the Afghani army. The Lord helps those who help themselves. We also are going to be much firmer with Pakistan. A lot of the ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Taliban terrorists are hiding in Pakistan. Pakistan denies it, but they're harboring them. Pakistan needs to stop it. We're going to get the Afghani army back on its feet so they can defend themselves, and then we will leave. Now, we're not going to tell the enemy when we're going to leave. What's wrong in America today is that too many of our friends across the world don't trust us, and too many of our enemies aren't scared of us. And we're going to change that. The best way to keep America and democracy safe is a strong military, as I saw yesterday at Fort Polk. It was very moving.
And the last thing I have to touch on, where in your priority list does healthcare fall? We posted this question, what would people want to ask you if they were doing this interview? And healthcare was the #1 thing everybody kept commenting with. And very quickly, where does that fall in your priority?
Well, it's important. It's huge. It's one of the top priorities. Health insurance costs too much. Obamacare was supposed to make it cheaper. It didn't. It failed. We've got to replace it. We came one vote short of replacing it. One vote. We'll get it next time. When will next time be? Probably toward the end of the year, the first of next year. What we're going to move to next, at least in the United States Senate, are tax cuts. Jobs, economic growth, and higher take-home pay. That's what's going to get the economy moving again, and after we do that, we'll return to health care.
All right, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We try to tackle a lot in a short amount of time. I think we got a little bit
going. You did well. We covered a lot.
Thank you.
We missed football, but next time we'll do that.
All right, thank you so much. Your time right now is 6:52. Stay with us. Coming up next, Patrick has a final look of your forecast.